So far away, Lucas, have you seen Deadpool 2?
Yeah, I've actually seen it a few times.
Okay, well, we're going to spoil it in this video, so don't watch if you don't want spoilers. And if you do watch and you see the spoiler, please don't complain. Although I know people are going to do that. Everyone complains about everything. As we're about to do now. We think it's safe to say that the people writing giant multi-million-dollar blockbusters try exceptionally hard to avoid using any tropes or cliches, if only so that dickheads on YouTube don't pull their film apart. Hi. One of those guys, I guess. I'm just letting that one sit, more than anything, because I know it's what everyone's going to say. Yeah, I know I'm doing that too. Then you have the writers of Deadpool 2, who despite writing a comic book movie were seemingly unaware of one of the most maligned tropes of the entire medium. Fridging.
Right, okay, Karl. I'm sure I will know this trope when you mention it, but what is fridging?
So, fridging is a colloquialism of the term women in refrigerators, which was coined in the 1990s by the comic writer Gail Simone, and it refers to the act of maiming, killing, raping, or just otherwise sidelining a female character purely to drive the story of a male character forward, in effect reducing them to little more than a plot device than, you know, a person. And whilst, yes, admittedly, this is not a trope exclusive to comics, it is bizarrely common in the world of comics, which led to the coining of this term. And with almost every big superhero having one or more of their love interests being sidelined in this way. One of the most egregious and the inspiration for the trope being a Green Lantern comic where the Emerald Knight comes home and finds that his wife has been killed and shoved in a refrigerator.
Oh, no.
Hence the term fridging. Lucas, do you have any favourite movies where this happens? You know, because it's not exclusive to comics, but it is, like, you know, remarkably common within them.
Well, yeah, when you mentioned just, like, sideline of good characters for just, like, plot development, my mind just straight away went, yeah, Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, which is, like, you know, a comic book example, but also a film example, and it's probably one of the most hackneyed scenes in a film, where you have, like, fucking Andrew Garfield's Spiderman shoot his web out, which turns into a hand, and then your eyes roll into the back of your head. And you're like, for fuck's sake, she's such a good character, she just gets killed, so Spider-Man can learn a lesson he already learned 10 years ago in the comics. And the example I want to talk about is John Wick, which is a very good film, because this trope doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, but the fact that it's so common just opens up wider questions about just, like, you know, women's role in media and how limited it can be. Because in John Wick, the entire impetus for those three movies is that John Wick's wife dies, but then it's not just his wife, but also his female dog also gets killed. It's like, oh, come on! It happens twice in the same movie! And it's just such a lazy way to progress the plot. And even if you're one of those weird knobhead men online who doesn't like, you know, the feminist aspect of it, you've got to appreciate it's just so fucking lazy and just overdone and trite.
Yeah, and there's one that really annoys me that just popped into my head again.
Okay.
And it's Gears of War 2, where you spend, like, the entire impetus of the game is you spend time looking for Maria, Dom's wife.
Oh yeah, then he blows her head off with a giant gun. And I'm pretty sure if you break that scene down, like, Dom's wife, one of the most important characters to his story, has less screen time than the gun he used to blow her head off with. And what makes this especially frustrating is, you know, if the reverse was true, men would never shut the fuck up about it.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that because every single time we ever have, like, a female-led movie or a movie where women are put to the forefront, or even just given equal screen time to men, weird men on the internet complain endlessly. Like in the MCU, where after 20 movies, you have one shot of every woman in the MCU working together, and men never shut the fuck up about how forced it feels. It's like, you've just had a scene of Captain America wielding Mjolnir and his shield at the same time.
Yeah.
While Dad Bod Thor is wielding two hammers at once. Like, fuck off. That entire fight scene is fan service. Let the female fans have their moment. You just had yours.
So, coming back to the term of just fridging, like,
Yes.
yeah, I don't know, like, the specific term of it, but I'm super familiar with the trope in media.
Like, yeah, you didn't know the specific name for the trope, but the moment it was explained, you immediately, yeah, I can think of like 12 examples of that straight away. There probably are a lot of people watching this who maybe weren't familiar with the term fridging, but are aware of like the trope itself. And that's fine because we're not discussing casual fans of comic books, we're discussing writers of comic books and comic book related media, many of whom have reached out to Gail Simone over the years to talk to her about the trope and have made efforts to not do that in their own writing after realizing, holy shit, this is really bad. It's super regressive, it's bad for the medium, and it's lazy as fuck. And on the website where she coined the term, Simone maintains an archive of correspondence from comic artists and writers and people involved with the industry, thanking her for opening their eyes to the trope and making them realise that, you know, their writing can be better. Their representation of women can be better in the medium. And that's great, isn't it?
That's really cool, yeah. The fact that
it is.
This one pointing out of a really bad trope is just opened so many people's eyes. That's really cool.
And the important thing to know is that whilst maybe casual comic fans aren't aware of this trope, people involved with the industry absolutely are. It's regarded as one of the most maligned and regressive tropes of the medium, to the point where, like, any time it happens in any comic book related media, it is immediately fucking slated. Enter Deadpool 2. And you had your warning for spoilers. So Lucas, what happens within the first 5 minutes of Deadpool 2?
Everything's all hunky-dory and, like, it's all a happy ending, right?
No, his girlfriend gets shot.
Oh, yeah.
And what is the impetus for the plot?
He needs to now go get revenge for the people who killed his girlfriend.
And a lot of fans of the first Deadpool movie were kind of annoyed about that, especially considering how progressive the relationship between Deadpool and his girlfriend was in that first movie. So that's the movie where the line Happy International Women's Day is uttered as Deadpool's girlfriend is just getting ready to peg him.
Yeah, and I love that bit. And it's just, she's set up as such a cool character. And, like, you know, the point of Deadpool 1 is getting her back. And then all of a sudden, Deadpool 2 is like, oh, cool, are they going to be like a cool mercenary couple? No, she just gets killed. She
gets immediately sidelined so that Deadpool can have character growth. Something they could have done without killing off his girlfriend.
It's just incredible that they make a like cool female character, and then film number 1 she has to get kidnapped. Film number 2 she has to die immediately. So, oh, come on.
And as fucked up as some aspects of their relationship is, it's really fucking progressive when you break it down. It's like they're perfectly fine with switching up gender roles. Like Deadpool is like, you know, affectionate, loving, caring. Like when Deadpool is sick, she takes it upon herself to, like, you know, take care of him. And at the end of the movie, it's revealed that she doesn't give a fuck that he's not sexiest man alive, Ryan Reynolds, anymore. She just loves him for him. She helps Deadpool realize, oh yeah, I don't care what you look like. I care what you are. I care about you as a man. And then they kill her. It's like, fuck's sake.
Okay, so how does this pertain, like, back to the actual writers of Deadpool 2 then?
Well, the writers of Deadpool 2, Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, have claimed in interviews where this has been brought up that they were completely unaware of the fridging trope. Keep in mind, this is one of the most infamous tropes in the entire medium of comic books, and it's known as one of the most regressive and something that comic book writers have actually tried to avoid in recent years after it was brought to their attention. They claim that we had no idea that fridging was a thing, and then in an interview doubled down defending their decision to kill off Deadpool's girlfriend by saying, and I quote, Deadpool kind of works best when he's had everything taken away from him, when he suffers. So the thought was maybe we can really engender great suffering for him by having his line of work be the thing that cost Vanessa her life. And Lucas, doesn't that sound like the literal definition of fridging?
That really does. Of just, you know what? This woman, she's not an actual character, she's a plot device.
But they said that in response to, are you aware of the trope of fridging and the idea of, like, you know, reducing a woman to a plot device to progress the story of a male main character? No, we've never heard of that, and that wasn't our intention. All we wanted to do was, like, you know, drive the story of Deadpool forward by killing his girlfriend. It's like, that's what fridging is, moron.
Yeah.
And just to make it a little bit worse, the person who coined the term fridging, Gail Simone, wrote Deadpool comics.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And she's noticed like one of the best people to write Deadpool comics. Fucking, how did they not know? And far away, Lucas, I don't feel like the whiny internet men who do nothing but hiss at women are annoyed enough, so let's talk more about women in comic book movies. So you got any favourite female characters from a comic book movie?
Well, yeah, it actually goes back to something I was talking about earlier, and I really like into the Spiderverse and how they handled Spider-Gwen.
Yes.
And it's just like the
awesome
character introduction of Spider-Gwen, not Gwen Stacy, where it's like you've got Peter B. Parker, just like he's a bit rough form, and Miles Morales is trying to learn, and then Spider-Gwen is just styling on them both. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
And I'm going to annoy the aforementioned whiny, hissing internet men by saying Captain Marvel. And something that happens in that Captain Marvel movie that I kind of wish they'd done more is in the very first fight scene she has, where you can see that Brie Larson was having fun. So I can only imagine that this moment was improv. And it's where she's having the fight scene and she's like got her arms locked in like the alien shackles. And during the fight scene, like an alien screams at her and she just screams back. And I can only think that that moment was improv because she never does anything like that ever again. Like she never has fun with her powers or her abilities from that point on. And I kind of wish that they'd like done that more. That little character moment's like it sold me immediately on Captain Marvel, and there's like a deleted scene, I think it is, where she gets sexually harassed by a dude and I think breaks his arm and steals his motorbike. And again, whiny internet men were really mad about that scene, even though it's a direct homage to Terminator 2.
Oh yeah, of course.
You're gonna give me your jacket, your helmet, and your motorcycle, and in return, I'm gonna let you keep your hand.
Take it.
So it's badass when Arnold Schwarzenegger does it, but it's not when a woman does it. And the scene is basically the exact same scene. The only difference is it's a woman instead of a man, and men were annoyed about it.
Of course.
Yeah. And that's what you mean. Like their opinion doesn't matter because the only reason they're mad is because a woman did it. And it's like, why should I care if you do that? That moment's awesome. Fuck that dude. Also, it's a reference to Terminator 2, one of the greatest movies ever made. Oh, and I just love all that stuff about like with Brie Larson. Every time someone's like, "Oh, she's a shit actress," and you just like smash cuts that photo of her holding an Oscar.
Yeah.
It's great. And then I think we had this conversation in a stream once, wasn't it, where people don't know Brie Larson has been campaigning for years to play Samus Aran in a Metroid movie.
It'd be so
and I think
good.
we mentioned it on stream once, and someone, "Oh, that'd be terrible." It's like, why? She likes the character. Like, she loves video games. She looks exactly like Samus does, and we know that she's like, in the physical shape to portray Samus because she's in all the fucking superheroes, and she's won an Oscar. Why do you not want her to play this character? And it's like, and it's like, yeah, I know. We know the reason why, but you're not going to say it.
Yeah.
The funniest thing about Brie Larson, though, is, like, do you know the reason, like, weird internet men don't like her?
No?
It was during a panel or something like that where she mentioned to an interviewer, I'd like to see more than white men asking questions. Which, is a perfectly valid thing. Like, these movies aren't just for weird white dudes with beards. Like, These movies are made for everybody. Like, especially like Captain Marvel. We want girls to see this movie. We want, like people of colour to see these movies. Like, these movies are for fucking everyone. Do you know why? Because everybody's got money and Marvel wants it.
Yeah.
And weird dudes on the internet took that to mean her saying these movies aren't for white men. It's like, no. She said that they're not just for white men. And the fact that you read that as they're not for me because I can't have them all to myself says more about you than it does about her.
Well, Karl, fuck those people. Make Brie Larson Samus Aran. Like, put her in everything. Like, everything I've watched with Brie Larson in, I've really fucking liked her.